you love something, does it look different to you? We're going to think about that today on Now at Devotions for the first time in a long time. Trinity Lutheran in Cyrus. So it is a breezy hot week here, 90 degrees, which is not usual for Minnesota and just also for May. And I haven't put a devotion out for a while. It's been Lent, and so it's been multiple preaching per week, and then, of course, Holy Week and Easter, and then I was at school for a week. So now we're back at devotions. And this week we're talking about John chapter 13, in which Jesus gives us his new commandment, which, by the way, is an old commandment, but with a new component, right? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, and he adds a part, as I have loved you. And we're thinking about that this week. Well, what does he mean by that? So I just got back from a school week out in California, and we were down in Malibu, which, I mean, is a beautiful place, but I am finding myself so glad to be home, back in the beauty that I'm more familiar with and the beauty that I have years of looking at. And I'm walking out to one of my little favorite spots over on the bike trails that I run out here a lot, so I see it a lot. And you might remember this winter, I did a video out here a couple of times just when I was out cross-country skiing. This is where I would usually go into the woods here just for a little bit and then out onto the river, which of course, you know, I mean, I could attempt now, but would be different. But I wanted to think with you about what it means to love a place and to love a person and to love people and to love enemies. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into all those things, but just there's a thing that happens when we know a place, right? When we've seen it in all the different lights and we've been there at different places and times in our lives. And as we watch it, it becomes a part of how we make sense of things, and we see things we didn't see before, and we learn to love it. I was just at one of the most famous beaches in the country, and I looked at it and thought, eh. But I come out here to my little spot at the end of the river, and I feel grounded in a very different way. And I love it in a very different way. And I see it in a very different way. Jesus calls us to use these eyes of love. But then he does this thing in which he changes the fundamental rule just a bit and says, love one another as I've loved you. And he says this, and we can only hear that in the context of how he loved and served his disciples, and also how he loved us and loved those who hated him, even unto death on a cross. As I was getting ready to fly out, the frogs were just waking up down here by the river. And there's a sound to that I was really excited about. And I was sad to miss the leaves starting to really open up as I headed out. And when I got down to Laguna Beach by Malibu there, there's sort of an inlet with a little stream that comes down the valley. And it's smaller than the Pomme de Terre River here. It's just a little inlet. And there were Canadian geese and good old-fashioned mallards and drakes just hanging out down there. And they were looking at all those seabirds kind of like, what are you guys fussing about? I had a similar feeling. And I'm not judging the people or the place. I just had the eyes of love that showed me different things. What about with people? Are there people you love that you see differently than maybe other people see? And maybe as I've been a Christian, I would suggest that the farther I go into this journey, I have a hard time seeing other humans without seeing them through the lens of they are to be loved. And even going farther down that road towards strangers and folks I don't know, or to enemies, I have a very hard time seeing even an enemy now as someone that I can write off, disregard, or have even the space to hate, let alone the space not to consider them and possibly love them. And this is the costly part of the faith. You can't write anyone off. You can't disregard them. You could certainly set boundaries, and you should. But that's different than having contempt, or saying they're not human, or saying their needs don't count, or saying they've somehow been disqualified from your consideration and care. Which takes us back to John 13. Love them as I have loved you. I encourage you to think about that this week. We'll have more to say about that in preaching on Sunday, and you can join us on our website for that. I'm Pastor Chris from Trinity Lutheran in Cyrus, signing off for now. Bye-bye.